If Jesus walked into your house today and called you by name, would it feel like a trusted, lifelong friend who's been with you through thick and thin? Or would it feel like a celebrity just noticed you? That's the uncomfortable reality for a lot of us. We relate to Jesus the same way some people know Michael B. Jordan. You've seen every movie, you follow the posts, you know the highlights, and you might even have that one screenshot saved like, Lord, it's just for inspirational purposes. But if Michael B. Jordan walked into your living room, he's not saying, hey, bro, I'll never forget that time we got into that car accident. The recovery was brutal, but it showed the power of true friendship. Oh, by the way, how's Lily Mae and the kids? No, he's saying, nice to meet you. And who are you again? You feel like you've been on a journey with him, and he's just now realizing you exist. And for a lot of believers, that's exactly how it would feel if Jesus showed up. He's deeply familiar to us in theory, but in the way we actually live, we've treated him like a distant celebrity instead of a real friend.
What a great analogy. And it really exposes something uncomfortable about modern faith. A lot of us have developed a completely parasocial relationship with Jesus. We talk about him constantly. We consume endless content about him, but we never actually talk directly to him. It is a one-sided dynamic where we feel close to someone we never really let into our real lives.
Right. And today we are going to unpack that exact dynamic. We need to figure out if we actually know Jesus like a close, intimate friend or just like a distant celebrity. Because settling for celebrity Jesus might honestly be one of the riskiest mistakes you can make for your soul.
Think about how we treat actual celebrities in our culture. You follow them on social media, but they definitely do not follow you back. You know all about their latest projects, their public statements, their aesthetic, but they do not even know your name. You might even get into heated arguments online defending their honor, but if your life is suddenly on fire, that celebrity is not showing up to help you put it out.
Exactly. It is wild when you put it like that. We will gladly stand in the freezing rain for 3 hours to get into a concert, but a 3-minute prayer suddenly feels like a hostage situation.
It really does. Some of us will happily binge a highly produced 90-minute Netflix documentary about Jesus. But the second we close our eyes in a quiet room to actually talk to him, we fall asleep in 9 minutes flat. That is the definition of fandom, not friendship. Friendship looks completely different. With a real friend, you have seen each other at your absolute worst. There are no filters, no careful angles, no pretending you have it all together.
And you don't just show up to cheer for their big milestone moments. You share the boring, everyday life stuff. You actively adjust your schedule for them rather than just squeezing them into whatever leftover time you happen to have at the end of a busy week.
Precisely. If the only time Jesus fits into your life is when it's convenient for you or other plans got canceled, he is not your friend. He is just your backup plan.
That stings a little, but it is so necessary to hear. So how do we actually diagnose this in our own lives? How do we know which version we are interacting with on a daily basis?
Well, there are a few pretty clear signs that you might be dealing with celebrity Jesus. First, you know his quotes, but you don't actually recognize his voice. You can easily recite verses you saw printed on a cool t-shirt or an aesthetic Instagram post, but his actual voice doesn't factor into your real life day-to-day decisions.
Oh, that is a huge indicator. And I would add another: you go to his events, but you never invite him into your normal Tuesday, like church services, massive conferences, highly emotional worship nights. You are front and center, but a simple Lord, please help me not snap at my kids today while you are making breakfast, not so much.
Right, it becomes a purely event-based relationship. You are an attendee, not a companion. Another major sign is that you talk about him more as content than as a person. You hear people say things like, oh, that sermon was fire, or that skit about Jesus at church had me dying laughing. But a raw, honest Jesus, I am really hurting right now, can we just talk, is incredibly rare. We have reduced the creator of the universe to a genre of media consumption.
It is almost like we use him as an accessory to our own personal brand. We name drop him in arguments to win a point, but we never actually consult him in private.
That is exactly what happens. Jesus is always conveniently on your side when you are winning a debate, but somehow he never gets the opportunity to actually disagree with you behind closed doors. We end up assuming he agrees with all of our personal preferences. We think, well, if Jesus were here, he would vote exactly like me, he would talk like me, and he would definitely cheer for my team, raise his kids like I do, and handle money exactly the way I think it should be handled.
Which is terrifying, because at that point, that is not a savior. That is just a mirror.
Exactly. If Jesus never disagrees with you, you might not actually be following Jesus. You might just be following a highly upgraded version of yourself.
Let's shift gears a bit because this isn't just about pointing out bad habits or making people feel guilty. There is a deep theological weight to this distinction. Why does friend level intimacy with Jesus matter so much in the grand scheme of things?
It matters because biblically, the language of salvation is entirely relational. It is not about celebrity status or fan metrics. Look at Matthew 7. Jesus doesn't say, "Many will say to me, Lord, Lord, look at my awesome fan page and all the Christian podcasts I subscribe to." He says, "I will tell them plainly, I never knew you." That is a chilling warning. The ultimate question at the end of it all is not, did you recognize Jesus? It is, does he know you because you actually walked with him?
That completely changes the paradigm. It is not about passing a trivia test about his life. It is about mutual recognition. And that changes how we live right now, too. Friend Jesus gives you actual guidance, not just vague inspiration. Celebrity Jesus gives you nice quotes to hang on your living room wall. Friend Jesus gives you clear direction when you are completely stuck.
Yes, because you can actually ask him real questions. Lord, do I take this new job? Do I text this person back? How in the world do I respond to this massive betrayal? And a friend doesn't just guide you. A friend corrects you. Celebrities don't call you out on your toxic behavior. They just thank you for your ongoing support and hope you buy their next book. But a true friend loves you way too much to stay quiet when you are actively messing up your life.
That is the difference between comfort and correction. Jesus, as a friend and his Lord, gets to look at your life and say, no, not that relationship. You need to walk away. Or, no, we are not doing that habit anymore.
And when things get really dark, the difference is even more profound. When tragedy hits, a celebrity can only post thoughts and prayers on their feed from a distance. A real friend comes over, sits with you in the dark, weeps with you, and walks through the valley with you. That is the Jesus who promises, I am with you always.
It is about deep transformation versus superficial aesthetics. Celebrity Jesus can get you a cute cross tattoo and a really solid worship playlist. But friend Jesus, he is going to give you a completely new heart and a totally different way of treating the people who annoy you the most.
That is where the rubber meets the road. Transformation only happens in proximity. You are not changed by the Jesus you applaud in public. You are changed by the Jesus you stay close to in private.
So if someone listening right now is realizing, ouch, I have definitely been treating Jesus like a celebrity, how do they make that shift? How do we move from the audience to the inner circle?
It starts with really simple, doable steps. First, just start talking to him like he is actually in the room. Drop the overly formal performance-based prayers. Just say, Lord, I am mad, I am exhausted, and I don't even feel remotely spiritual right now, but I want you in this moment with me.
I love that. No filters, just honesty. And you have to let him interrupt your schedule, right? Set a real time to connect, not just telling yourself you'll get to it if you finish scrolling before you fall asleep.
Exactly. If you can manage to schedule a dentist appointment 6 months in advance, you can absolutely schedule 15 minutes with Jesus for tomorrow morning. Another great step is to just invite him into one very specific area of your life. Say, Lord, I want to know you as a friend in the middle of my anxiety, or in your parenting, or in your dating life. And then just watch for his fingerprints in that specific area this week.
And when he does nudge you, you've actually got to obey it, even the weird, uncomfortable nudges. Friends, do not stay close if you hit ignore on them every time they call. Imagine telling your best friend, yeah, I saw your text 7 times, and I just decided no. That friendship's getting real awkward real fast. Ask yourself, what's the last thing you know Jesus asked you to do that you've been avoiding? Just take one step toward doing it. Baby steps still move you closer than spiritual procrastination ever will.
And finally, you have to get around other people who know him like a friend. Community rubs off on you. If your entire social circle only knows Jesus like a celebrity, you are going to start thinking that superficial level is completely normal. In John 15, Jesus explicitly says, greater love has no one than this, to lay down one's life for one's friends. He follows that by saying, I no longer call you servants, instead I have called you friends. He isn't recruiting fans to fill a stadium. He wants people who actually walk with him, hear his voice, and obey him.
That is the perfect thought to land on. Here is the question I want you to sit with after this episode wraps up. If Jesus scrolled through your last week, if he looked at your time, your thoughts, your reactions, would he say, we are really close, or would he say, you know my brand, but we barely talk?
The really good news here is that Jesus is not out here chasing more fans. He is actively inviting friends. He already knows absolutely everything about you. He is just waiting for you to stop treating him like a distant celebrity and start walking with him like the friend and Lord he actually is.
This is In Da Huddle. If this poked at your celebrity Jesus mindset a little bit, share it with somebody who's in that same boat, and maybe you can move toward friend Jesus together. I'll see you next time.